a guy named Senator Cowsert. Let him know that the meeting started at 4 o'clock. And remind him, he just forgets. He hasn't been here very long, so just let him know. Glad to see a room full of people here today, and we're going to jump right in because we're running late. And if y'all don't mind, I'm going to do a chairman's thing. I'm going to start with Senator Williams' bill because I think it'll be short and we can get it behind us. And that's Senate Bill 146.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. LC number 550470.
All right.
We went through this bill the other day, and what this does is just clarifies the procedure for protecting cemeteries, for the procedure of getting a permit for moving a grave, and also creates a new chapter that requires individuals to obtain a permit from the county or city before establishing a family cemetery on private property, and also creates a process whereby descendants can bring an action against a landowner wherein their deceased relatives are buried so that they have access to that cemetery to maintain the cemetery, to keep it up, and to visit the cemetery. So it's very simple. That's
Can you walk us through what, just real quickly, what wasn't before and what was causing the problem before?
Well, what was causing before is people didn't know exactly what process to go through and it outlines who has the right to control the disposition of a human remains, consent for disinterment. So what this does is it puts in code the order of relations, like a spouse, a child, a grandchild, a sister, a brother, as to who has the rights for disposition for deceased human body. And also, a lot of counties, especially rural counties, don't have any guidelines for how to establish a cemetery on private property. And this just says what they must do. Set aside 1 acre of land and have perpetual access to that cemetery. And they have to be surveyed and recorded in the courthouse as to that is a cemetery. And it also it allows a descendant to bring action against a landowner that to discover if the human remains of their deceased relatives are located on the landowner's property. Also, for instance, Representative Jesse Petrie there's a family cemetery in Burke County, and somebody from Florida came up and bought that property and then put no trespassing signs on it and locked a gate. So this would give them the means to go through so that they can have access to maintain that cemetery.
Gotcha. Ingress, egress rights.
Yes, sir.
Are guaranteed to them.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And if there's it will also work out that the certain time and when it would be convenient for the landowner and the family visiting to mediate and come together on an agreement on when they can visit that property. This did pass last year, and it's pretty much the same bill that was last year.
Question from the committee. What number are you?
3.
Say it again.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When I look, and I'm not an expert like you are, but when I look over on lines 250, starting in that paragraph right there, and it talks about an application going to the governing authority of the county. I think, because I've worked with probate courts before in different regards. I've even been a procession, part of a procession in probate court. It's kind of an unusual thing, but most wills we talk about being probated. So your probate judge does everything from gun permits and everything that's going into wills and those kind of things. So I'm thinking about death, and knowing everybody in the county probably knows about as many people in the county. Why would we want to make that application to the governing authority that changes? And there's a lot of different, they're not going to be real familiar with this, but a probate judge usually stays in office for a lot longer. so you'd have more continuity. What would happen if we changed that to make it where just instead of spelling out to the governing authority, we made that to the probate court?
Well, I can tell you from experience, my probate judge in one of my counties would not take action. He would not take action even now on an abandoned human body. We have to go before a Superior Court judge, which we call the Superior Court judge. We go to her chambers, and she signs off on an order so the body can be cremated. Some probate judges will not take action such as this. So with your county attorney there and you petition to the county commissioners, then the county commissioners, on the advice of the probate judge, would advise them, you can just refer this on to a Superior Court judge, they will sign an order, and it'll be done.
If the application's made to the county, does the county have to have would they be required to take action, or can they just refer it to a Superior Court judge?
They could refer it on to a Superior Court judge.
Because we got Superior Court judges all over the state, said, why don't we just start off with a Superior Court judge?
Well, from what I understand, this is the code now. Is that correct, Ledge Counsel? And so, that would be something we could come back and do.
We're in the process of making them now, said
Well,
I'm just thinking that if we're doing this, it's so unclear to the public when anybody deals with this. I'm looking at it and thinking, okay, we got Superior Court judges that operate all over the state and every judicial circuit. So that you got one group that you go to, instead of them passing the buck to the next one, whether it be the probate judge passing it to the Superior Court judge or the Board of Commission or the city council or whoever. Why don't we just say that, let's spell it out and make it go to the Superior Court judge, having jurisdiction in that area?
I'll refer to Ledge Counsel. Can that be done?
Well, if you look at line 198, it says except as otherwise provided by law. So to the extent a Superior Court judge could authorize this disturbance, the existence of this chapter as amended wouldn't preclude that.
Well, what I'm suggesting is we're in the business of changing the law right now. Instead of having one group that wants to pass the buck, you got a probate judge that doesn't want to touch it. He's going to pass it to the Superior Court judge. You may have a city council or a Board of Commissioners that want to pass the buck. Why don't we just say, look, the buck stops with the Superior Court judge?
I'm not an attorney. I can't answer that question.
Hold on a minute, Nick.
What was that, Chairman Brass?
Yeah. So is it not true that every year we're adding judges to Superior Courts and circuits throughout our state, and we continuously hear the caseloads are overwhelming? And to throw one more thing on their plate, I think something like this is going to go at the back of their calendar and probably be counterintuitive to what he's trying to do. Is that not true?
I would probably agree. You could say and/or a Superior Court judge, but not just limit to a Superior Court judge.
Well, I think what it's laying out is just the process to do it, and just going 1, 2, 3.
And this is where, Mr. Chairman.
All right, go ahead. Last question.
And this is where, for me, you're already telling me that you got a probate judge that won't touch it.
Yes, sir.
Said I can imagine that there's nobody in that position that whether it be on the Board of Commission or City Council that's going to be feeling comfortable about doing this. And I'm just thinking, clarify it once and for all, because
for this?
if it's passing up to them anyhow, let's just start there and resolve it.
Well, they're the governing agency, so it would be proper as a former county commissioner. I wouldn't have any problem, taking that up and saying, okay, that's brought before us. We turn it over to the county manager, and the county manager push it forward to the to a Superior Court judge or saying go on through that step?
I'm just suggesting, because I've been that county manager, that we start with the courts.
I'm fine with it. If you want to make that motion to amend it and get alleged counsel, I don't have a problem with it. Mr.
And thank you.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Senator.
that.
All right, other questions? Yeah, Senator Albers, you're recognized.
Number 4. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I understand what Senator Ginn's saying, and certainly also understand what Senator Brass is saying. I'm afraid we might be making this more complicated than it needs to be. I think what you put in place is fairly clean and simple. I'm afraid if we go too far, we're going to get wrapped around the axle on this one. So I would just say that, Chairman Williams, I think what you're putting here is reasonable and provides a good opportunity for people to get to where they need to be. So I would keep it as is.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Sorry.
Right.
I think it's too
Any
much.
other questions from committee members? All right. I don't see anybody signed up for this bill. I guess I won't make a smart aleck comment about that, about the people interested in it, but
Shucks, I thought all of these people were here for my bill, Mr. Chairman.
I'm looking just to make sure that nobody put this number down.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Could I ask you a question, because you deal with Superior
Absolutely.
Court judges every day.
Yeah.
The question comes up in how you go about getting a permit started, and I know that Senator Williams has had a lot of in-depth experience as a county commissioner and funeral director and the things there, but he's telling me that, okay, he goes to a probate judge in one of his counties and they won't touch it. They immediately go and dismiss it and go to a Superior Court judge. My experience in local government, because I've been a city manager and a county manager for 20 years, they're not going to want to pick this up and touch it. Said and so for me, I'm thinking, somebody takes this to a Superior Court judge, they show them the file. Here's the history on it, and they'd sign off on it. Is that a lot of time-consuming effort on behalf of a Superior Court judge if they are presented this just for them to sign off on the one particular cemetery or whatever it is that they're trying to get done? They may have all the requirements. I appreciate that Senator Williams has it spelled out. Here's what we've got to do to make that happen, because this does need clarification. I mean, it's one of the things that for me, I've had a constituent that's been befuddled on this thing for quite a while, and I don't know that we're really burdening, because what Senator Williams is saying is they may defer to the Superior Court judge anyhow, and if that's the case, why not just start with the Superior Court judge and make them the final official?
Well, I mean, that's a policy decision. Ideally, probate judges could handle these matters routinely, and if the people asking for the permit or whatever permission are unhappy, then they can appeal that up. But I don't know if it's a burden on Superior Court judges or not. I mean, this is serious issues. If it's about being able to move a grave or to visit a grave, and those type of things are very personal and important, but I don't feel like these would happen that frequently. I don't think we're going to be overburdening the court system, but it's
I'd
policy
love
if you guys
for it to
wanna
start
know.
in the probate court. If a probate judge defers it, it goes to the Superior Court judge, and he does it. That way you've got, the probate court system already deals with deaths and probate and wills and the things there. Right. Deals with property disputes with a procession.
That's who issues the disinterment permits now, is the probate judge. But what you're talking about is moving a grave with no ancestors and nobody there, which you're going to have to go through the steps
Exactly.
like anything else to get to a Superior Court judge, or your probate judge could make that recommendation or issue that permit now.
I talked to my local probate court, and he said, if I had the authority, I'd do it. He said, but the law doesn't spell it out that he has that authority, and that's where, for me, he
I rely on the Legislative Council.
And I
Nick?
understand.
He's asking whether probate court judges can do this now or should be the ones doing this.
It might be limited to superior courts.
Come over here, Nick. There's Mike right here.
It's possible that it's limited to superior courts. I'm not sure. If the probate courts do have the authority, it probably have to be spelled out in code?
And that's where, for me, I'm suggesting that we make a, whatever alteration, instead of going to a governing authority.
I got your amendment. You're wanting to propose an amendment. It's going to be something we can't do on the fly. Let me ask the author, is that a friendly amendment, or would you rather?
Friendly
proceed?
amendment, that'd be fine if you want to do it, we can do it now.
We can't do it now.
No.
That's too complex. We're dealing with other
Okay,
code
well-
sections, and we can do it, come back with a committee sub incorporating that, or we can vote your bill out, or try to vote it out the way it is. You get
I'd like to
make-
vote it out the way it is. It came out last year, I'd like to vote it out the way it is. We can amend it in the House,
The,
on the floor.
Do you have?
he's written an amendment out. I'll let you
go
read,
ahead
because
and
I'm not good at
offer
reading
your-
lawyer speak.
Hey, we got 3 bills. Offer your amendment. If it passes,
Nick,
it passes. If it don't, it don't.
If you could read that out.
Recognize Senator Brass while we're.
For
about
sake
ready
of time, if he's going to make an amendment, I'd like to make a motion do pass.
All right, we needed that motion before we can address the amendment. So now
Exactly.
we're at the point, is there a motion? Is there an amendment? You making
Yes,
it now?
I-
All right, Mr. Tate, this is Nick Tate, by the way, Legislative Counsel, that's staffs our committee. He's the draftsman of most bills we deal with. If you would please state the amendment.
So you could insert after line 437, a new code section, 367217, which would state, nothing in this chapter shall preclude a person from seeking authorization from a probate court of competent jurisdiction to disinter human remains or otherwise disturb a burial ground, human remains, or a burial object.
All right, is there a second to that amendment? Yes, question. Senator Harbison.
Where you are now, the lumber you have now,
No,
that's acceptable?
yes, sir.
Me too.
The law doesn't spell out that a probate judge can do it now. It's a little unclear, and this makes it real clear that a probate judge.
You good with this?
Yeah.
Second.
All right, any discussion on the amendment? I'm gonna call that Amendment 1. All in favor of Amendment 1 to LC 550470, raise your hand. And I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all opposed? 6-2. Your amendment passes. All right, now any further discussion on the bill as amended? All right, all in favor of the bill as amended, so that will be ultimately a committee substitute to LC 550470. Raise your hand. Any opposed? Mr. Leader, got to vote in this committee, either a yea or a no. All right.
I'm with you, Mr. Chairman. What's your?
I turned the reins over for 15 minutes, and here we already crashed the daggum train. All right, that's unanimous.
General Haig did a good job.
Your bill has passed the committee. Now you get to go play in the Rules Committee.
I'm trying to speed it up here for him.
You did good. Thank you, there,
Matt,
Mr.
I know how
Chairman.
you feel on the floor this morning.
All right, Senate Bill 33, Senator Kirkpatrick, if you would like to present, please. You may do it your choice, the witness chair, number 2, or the podium.
I think at this time of the day, I'll choose to sit down.
All right. Yeah, this is the time of the legislative session as we're all racing towards crossover day, that we're all jumping from committee to committee.
Thank you,
Proceed.
Mr.
We'll give you
Chair.
time.
I'm working from LC 550524S.
All
that
right,
what
that's
you get?
committee sub, that is in our packet.
Okay. Okay, so as a physician, I work a lot on public safety issues, which is why I brought a similar bill last year that was voted out of this committee. What has changed since last year is that we passed Senate Bill 494, which requires testing of Delta-9 THC products from hemp, but does not address other intoxicating cannabinoids like Delta-8. We have very reputable processors of these hemp products around the state that are already doing the right thing by testing and labeling their products. However, many of the products that are being sold in gas stations, convenience stores, and smoke shops are not Georgia-grown and are from China and other countries. These intoxicating cannabinoids appear in trace amounts in the plant, and they're then treated with chemicals to enhance their strength, which may include solvents, heavy metals, and other contaminants. I've been trying to work with the Department of Agriculture since day 40 last year to come up with a solution to this issue, and to their credit, they have taken on licensing and enforcement of these businesses very seriously. The ones that sell Delta-9 THC products are doing inspections, confiscating product, and they've licensed a large number of businesses. They provided input to this bill, and I appreciate their help. Meanwhile, the FDA has identified Delta-8 in particular as a health risk, even though it was left out of the Farm Bill, and has continued to send warning letters to companies due to adverse events resulting in emergency visits. And the DEA still considers these as Schedule I controlled substances. The 2018 Farm Bill drew a line at 0.3%. Anything below that is considered hemp, greater than that is marijuana. This bill defines intoxicating cannabinoids, and it includes a substance called HHC, which is synthesized from CBD. And I appreciate the Ag Department drawing this one to my attention. The bill also gives the department the authority to include any other compound that they deem necessary to protect health and safety. It includes these compounds and the total concentration of THC in a product. This subject has nothing to do with medical cannabis. It's simply the compounds that are not currently included in our code. So just to quickly walk through the bill, the heart of the bill starts on page 3, and it's the definition of intoxicating cannabinoids, which lists all the different ones, Delta-8 and so on. And then if you go over to page 5, it talks about the total concentration of cannabinoids, which means the concentration of all THC and other cannabinoids within a sample. And then on page 6, line 141, that's where the language is, any other compound or groups of compounds that the department determines is necessary to protect health and safety. And then line 166 defines the total concentration of intoxicating cannabinoids at 0.3% or less. So that's the bill in a nutshell. Be happy to answer any questions. You do have a letter from the Georgia Sheriff's Association in your folder in support of the bill.
We have the committee substitute that you submitted to me actually last week, I think, on this. Would you just explain to us the difference in the substitute and your bill as originally introduced?
It was just a numbering issue. The bill I gave you last week hasn't changed. It just was prepared as a committee substitute for this meeting.
All right. And as I recall from the past, and it takes me a while to get it all back in process, that what that Farm Bill really did was limit the Delta-9, and that's the naturally occurring THC, the psychoactive component of hemp.
That's one of the components of hemp, and yes, it depends on the dose, of course.
Right.
But these other compounds that occur in small amounts in the plant can be enhanced to be intoxicating as well.
And is that what people have been doing to get around that definition, is by essentially altering or enhancing the other compounds so that they become psychoactive components that can get you high?
I believe that's the case.
Okay. So we're in a position that you could come back every year and you could add Delta-8 this year, Delta-10 next year, and it's like whack-a-mole. They're going to come up with another way to put THC, enhanced components in there to get folks high, unless you name all of those cannabinoids that you've done in this bill.
Well, and that's exactly why we gave the department last year, and even more this year, the authority to add compounds that they think are necessary, because as you said, the technology changes every year.
Am I right that what you're trying to do is just say, okay, y'all come up with whatever you want to, but all of them added together are not going to get over that 0.3%
That's right.
to be legal? Okay. Any other committee members have questions of the author? I have quite a few people lined up to speak. I'm going to not necessarily go by the direct order of the bill, and I'm going to probably have to kind of stop from having just, yeah, me too, ditto, ditto on some of these. But I have some people that seem to have made an effort to come here that are not hired lobbyists, that are folks that I would like to give them a chance to hear. So I'm going to kind of randomly call, try to be an equal amount of fors and against so we can follow this. Before we get there, and so everybody testifying can hear my concern, as I understand this way of calculating the amount of, let's just call it Delta-9, but THC in the products, is it's based on the dry weight.
In this bill it is.
Okay, so if I were to sit here and have a bale of hemp here, you could have up to 0.3% of that bale can be Delta-9 or a THC component.
Correct.
I don't know how many ounces in a bale, but maybe we're talking about an ounce of THC or 2 or 3 or 5 ounces. How does that translate into the product? Because we're not, we're not just squeezing together the hay left over from the hemp. We're putting this into gummies and other things, and we're measuring in the rules and regs the amount of milligrams or milliliters in the product. How does this impact that, or does it?
Well, it doesn't impact it for the things that aren't currently in the law.
Right.
And I think the department has promulgated rules and regulations, I don't know if they're final yet, are they? That go into more detail about how the dosage is measured.
Okay. So I'm curious, anybody speaking to let me know how this correlates into the, the effect on a consumer. How much THC does it take? How many milligrams? How much percentage dry weight? To where this goes from being what it originally was, a CBD type product for helping you sleep, helping your joints, all this, to a product that gets you intoxicated or high. Okay? So y'all let me know what you know about that, or let our committee know. Because is that what you're trying to accomplish, to make a product that is safe, that it's not a drug, it's a,
Well, that's,
as far as a
that's-
get high, intoxicating
That's part
drug?
of it, but, if people want to get high and they're adults, that's one thing, but not knowing what's in a product is a completely different thing. That's where I'm coming from. It's more of a safety issue about the products other than Delta-9 not being incorporated in the whole law that we did last year as far as testing and labeling and that type of thing.
Got it. Okay. I'll start at the top. Seth Harris, Georgia Faith and Recovery Collaborations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Seth Harris. I'm a person in long-term recovery from substance use disorder. I work with a male addiction treatment program in the Woodstock area, and I'm the head of the Georgia Faith and Recovery Collaboration. I'm here at the request of Jeff Breedlove and on behalf of the American Addiction Recovery Association, the Georgia Council for Recovery, and the Georgia Addiction Recovery Coalition. We support SB 33. Thank you to Senator Kirkpatrick for her leadership and love for Georgia families impacted by the addiction epidemic. SB 33 will save lives. It is pro-faith and pro-family. Currently, there are no age minimums for these products. It is inconceivable that anyone, for any reason, could, in good conscience, oppose the legislation to send a powerful message that we will not tolerate any scenario where adults sell for profit dangerous products to minor children. It is one thing to allow legal adults to make an informed decision, but everyone involved in the profit pipeline of these products should be up here today voluntarily asking you to support this important legislation. Please protect the children of Georgia. the message out of Washington, D.C. is restore common sense to government. This legislation is a bipartisan common sense bill. Keep potentially deadly THC products out of the hands of Georgia children. Recovery is real. Thank you.
Any questions from committee members? All right, thank you very much and appreciate the concise nature of your comments. Aaron Jimenez, Classic Sativa.
Hi, my name is Erin Jimenez. I live in Athens, Georgia, and I've been working in the hemp industry since June 2021. I'm here to speak on SB 33, specifically to say that it will cause more problems than it would solve, much like SB 494 did last year. Specifically, the main two problems is that you're attempting to regulate federally compliant products and you're attempting to regulate individual cannabinoids like Delta-8 in this case, and the plant actually has hundreds of cannabinoids. So you asked what we know about different cannabinoids and regulating them, what's psychotropic or psychoactive and what's not. So I'm just going to scrap everything I had and I'm going to answer your question. The thing is that the plant naturally produces so many of these compounds, so many that we have no idea yet how many. CBD is naturally produced by the plant. It will not get you high. You can be relaxed, you will not be high. However, THC and all of the different versions of it, Delta 9, Delta 8, 10, 11, if you give me enough time, I can rattle on all day. They are intoxicating to varying degrees. Not only they themselves are intoxicating, but it depends on the person. And so the issue is when you try to regulate these things, as you mentioned, individually, then the industry is just going to shift. Bad players are going to get in a lab and they're going to synthesize different ones from CBD, from different things, because that's possible. And then you'll be back here wasting time next year on other individual cannabinoids only to keep chasing the dog. So the issue is also that people are going out of state for these products. They're federally compliant. They're shipping them into Georgia. Small businesses in Georgia are losing revenue, which means Georgia is losing tax revenue. Not only that, if you make more legislation saying, okay, well, fine, you can't ship things into Georgia, people are pivoting to the illegal market. The illegal market since 494 has been booming because 494 restricted flour, which now people, rather than going without flour, are shifting to the illegal market. 494 did a lot of good things for the industry, such as implementing age restrictions, which we desperately needed. Bad players were definitely selling to people that they shouldn't have been. And it had packaging requirements. There were a lot of things that we agreed to in that, but it should never have taken away flour. It should not be regulating milligrams on edibles that adults are consuming, because that just means that people are having to buy more bags of edibles. If anything, that's just making people more prone to diabetes because of the sugar in the edibles.
What do the edibles do? Why do people buy those from you? What's the reason? What's the purpose?
Edibles are easy to dose in that rather than hitting a vape that you have no idea what amount of milligrams you're getting in a specific puff or a joint, for example, edibles are easy in that it says, oh, it's 10 milligrams of this. And the testing requirements that were implemented by 494 helped greatly with saying, okay, that's actually what's in it.
Right, so they're not buying them just because they taste good. Why are they eating these things? What do they do to them?
Different things. It depends on what's in the edible. So if it's a THC edible, not only can you use it to get high, but people use it for pain relief. I've seen people get off opioids by using edibles and different things from the plant. So people have their own reasons. People use it for sleep, pain, recreationally. It just kind of depends on the person. But everyone has a good reason for using these things. Like you said, it's not just that they taste good. Most of the time they don't, despite all the sugar dumped in there.
Well, it's confusing because we have a medical marijuana program.
Right.
That one of the conditions is intractable pain. So the question is, why wouldn't you go to a doctor, get on the registry, and get something more controlled and prescribed to you legally rather than buy your products based out of hemp to get to the same place? I'm just trying to meld these two together and see, you know, why are people buying so many hemp products? Is it to get high? Is it to sleep? Is it for pain, or some combination?
A lot of people, just being frank with you, because you're asking these questions, a lot of people still feel weird about their name being on a registry for the medical card. And also, that's a cost barrier. I mean, you have to pay for the medical card. You have to pay to see a doctor to get referred. So it's a cost barrier. It's extra steps that people may not have when they can just show up at Classic Sativa, talk with a friendly face like Alan, who has research on hand and can walk them through this. We don't claim to be medical professionals. In fact, we encourage people to speak with their doctors. But again, people are scared to do that because they don't, specifically people in pain clinics, they get drug tested. And so getting pain clinics specifically to get on board with that is difficult.
And do you know how many milligrams it takes to get high of the THC, Delta 9?
This is not the answer that you want, but.
I don't have, this is investigative. I don't
Right.
have a preconceived.
Well, I'm just prefacing, but we don't know. And the reason why we don't know is because there's not enough federal research. It's a Schedule I controlled substance, and so there's not a lot of research in that area. But then also, even the available research names factors as broad as your metabolism, how you consumed it, what you had to eat that day, how often you exercise, how much water you drink. I can go on and on.
All righty. Any other comments?
I think that I covered my bases, but
Thank you.
please, if any of you have any other questions, find me in the hallway outside. I definitely have a while to sit and talk to you.
Where are you located in Athens?
On West Broad Street by
you down-
Athens Health and Fitness.
Is that the old Kroger in the hole?
It is totally the old Kroger in the hole.
All these Kroger's got a nickname. That's probably a better one than some of them in Atlanta. But,
Thank y'all so much.
thank you. Alan, I'm going to skip over you because you're working 4 too. I'm hoping she talked quick. I'm sorry. You had a question? Yes, sir. Come back real quick, Aaron. We've got a question for you from Senator Sims.
Sorry about that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
So most of these edibles are found in convenience stores. Do we find them in convenience stores? Do we find them in just specific shops that cater to the product, or?
So from my understanding, 494, with the licensing and permits that they're granting to businesses across the state, that was supposed to help take them out of gas stations. Full disclosure, the gas station that I go to right beside my house definitely still has edibles on its shelves. We are not proponents of that. We were very excited for it to just be in shops like ours that take great pride in knowing our specific area of expertise, not a gas station.
Do you have age restrictions on your products?
Absolutely. Even before 494, which implemented the 21 and up, we always had a policy of only 21 and up, especially for intoxicating cannabinoids.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I've heard that, hang on, Aaron. I've heard the federal government was talking about doing the same thing we're doing, and the next one thereafter is Delta 8. Have you heard that they're looking now, they realize this sort of in-run around Delta 9, that they're about to add it as a controlled level as well?
We definitely have. We're watching the federal Farm Bill, its amendments when it's up for renewal, which it has been for a long time, and they keep kicking the can down the road. So we definitely have our eyes on that. And look, Delta 8, we found that some people like it more than the traditional, the Delta 9 THC. The reason being is that it doesn't attach as well to your receptors. So when I say that, we have a whole body system that's almost like a lock and key mechanism with this plant. We produce cannabinoids in our bodies. And so when we intake them from the plant, it interacts with that system that we all naturally have. And so when Delta 8 doesn't bind as well, you can get that pain relief without feeling as high. You can go to sleep without feeling as high. So a lot of companies are synthesizing it in a lab just because it occurs in such small quantities. That's not the best. We would honestly much rather be able to provide Delta 9 THC with a healthy amount of CBD in it and achieve the same thing and it be more natural.
Okay, thank you. You're very knowledgeable.
Thank you.
Ms. Anna Ruzicka from Medical Association of Georgia.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hey y'all, I'm Anna Rizika from the Medical Association of Georgia. Just want to say that we are very supportive of this bill and its strengthening of quality control for THC products.
Any questions? I got one for you. You're the medical person so far. What level or number of milligrams does it take to get a person high in a product? Do you know?
I don't have a good answer for you either, I'm sorry.
Okay. Do you support the bill? Tell us why.
Sure, I'm happy to give you my full spiel.
Well, just keep it to about a 2-minute if you can.
Yes, sir. We're supportive of Senate Bill 33, which establishes reasonable THC limits and strengthens quality control for consumable hemp products. MAG supports medical cannabinoid research, but opposes expanded THC availability due to public health risks, including impaired cognition, addiction potential, and emergency health incidents. This bill helps prevent misleading product labeling, protects consumers from harmful contaminants, and ensures workplace safety. By passing this bill, Georgia would take a measured, responsible approach to THC regulation, balance public health, safety, and medical oversight. We urge your support.
Any questions? I got a question from my Vice Chairman, Senator Summers.
Thank you, ma'am. You said addiction. Is there research to show there's addiction on Delta 8 or Delta 9?
I'm happy to circle back with my team on that and send you some resources.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Judy Kraft, a concerned parent from Forsyth County. You made your way down here. Let's hear what you got to say.
Good afternoon. I did make my way down here. It makes me appreciate all of you that do this every day. I'm from Cumming, Georgia, and I'm speaking as a concerned citizen, concerned especially for what our children and youth who are growing up today have a lot of landmines to navigate. You have a handout, and one of the pages that you will have from Georgians for Responsible Marijuana Policy is what high THC products with no age minimums are doing to Georgia's children. And I'm just going to read just a few from the television coverage and the newspaper articles to give you a flavor of what's happening. The first one is from WSB TV. Colorful gummies and edibles can look like treats. We've seen as young as 2- and 3-year-olds in the ICU because of ingestion of these THC gummies. Dr. Gaylord Lopez, Executive Director of the Georgia Poison Control Center, said. Another one from WSB TV in Cherokee County. Cherokee County is battling an epidemic of vaping in their schools. The Cherokee County School Board recently passed a zero-tolerance policy. If a student is caught with synthetic THC, the district will treat it like a felony marijuana offense under the new policy. I had a student sitting next to me during the state milestone test vaping. One student told Reagan, the problem isn't just nicotine, it's the organic and synthetic THC chemicals mixed in. You don't know what's in it, and the potential for allergic reaction is very high, said Phil Price, a member of Cherokee's multi-agency narcotics squad. And then Fox 5 TV, a Pickens County 7-year-old was hospitalized for eating what he thought was candy. It ended up being a drug called Delta 8, a THC that's legal for those 21 and up, but can be fatal for young kids. According to the FDA, from 2021 to 2022, poison control centers around the U.S. received more than 1,000 adverse Delta 8 exposure cases. Of them, nearly half involved kids under 18, and one child died from the drug. This was just a picture. This is a newspaper headline in Forsyth County. Student ingested 10 THC gummies. The problem that we have now is that Georgia's 2024 hemp consumable laws allow consumables like gummy bears, vapes, and other products can continue to be sold legally, even if the THC levels are extremely high, and can even be sold legally to consumers under the age of 21. SB 33 is not a partisan bill. It's a bill that, if passed into law, will help protect children. we won't see these headlines happening in our news at least as frequently. And schools will be able to say to students, it is illegal for you to purchase or give these out in school. And parents will feel the support of our state government in helping them with the tough job of parenting. I can't imagine that any senator would vote against it if it's going to be something that's going to help our kids and parents.
Any questions from committee members for Ms. Kraft? Thank you for making the effort to come down here. We appreciate your input.
Thank you.
Scotty Ellison, THC ATL. All of our committee meetings got kicked back 10 to 15 minutes, so those of you wondering that if you have another committee minute after this, it's delayed slightly.
How you doing today, Senators?
Doing great. Introduce yourself. Tell us
My name
your
is
thoughts.
Scotty Ellison. I'm 39 years old. I'm a resident of Georgia my whole entire life, born and raised here. I own THCAtlanta.com, which is an e-commerce business, hemp business out of Cobb County, Georgia. And I'm actually against the bill. And sorry, I have a problem speaking in public in front of officials. I've personally been arrested 3 times for Delta-9 in the past, which makes it very hard for me to get up in front of you guys and give my case because it's so intimidating when you're dealing with political figures and authority figures. However, let me go ahead and continue. Ladies and gentlemen, history has shown us time again that prohibition doesn't work. It backfires. And when we banned alcohol in 1920, we didn't stop drinking. We created the black market, empowered criminals, and drove up unsafe, unregulated moonshine. Today, the push for Delta-8 and other cannabinoids is prohibited, up in new clothes. It's prohibition dressed up in new clothes, and it's the same mistake for blah. It's the mistake for the same reason. My apologies. I probably need a glass of water. Prohibition fails because it ignores human nature. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Give me just one moment. Again, it's very nerve-wracking. I have been through the penal system 3 times, and for something that's never killed anybody in the history of human history, I would like to make a comment about the Delta-8 being too much in that person overdosing from it and dying. I would like to see that report because I think that's untrue, just to say. But 1 second, water. I'll finish my speech and I'll get out of your hair. Prohibition fails because it ignores human nature. People seek out the restrictions, whether it's whiskey or hemp-derived buzzes like Delta-8 and other cannabinoids. The 2018 Farm Bill opened the door to legal hemp. Delta-8 and other cannabinoids stepped through, offering a mild alternative to Delta-9 THC that's helped countless folks manage pain, anxiety, and unwind. It's not perfect, but it is a choice that fuels jobs, innovation, and a multi-billion-dollar industry. Slamming that door doesn't make it go away. It pushes underground where quality control vanishes and risks skyrocket. Limiting Delta-8 and other cannabinoids isn't about safety, it's about control. If safety were the goal, we continue to regulate, test, and tax it as is, not limit and ban it. States like Texas and Kentucky have already restricted it, and now SB 33 threatens a statewide clampdown, all while pretending it's not prohibition by another name, but it is. It's the same old playbook. Outlaw what you don't fully understand, ignore the demand, and let the consequences fester. We've got a chance to learn from the past. Prohibition breeds chaos. Common sense regulation, not to be mistaken by overregulation, brings clarity. Delta-8 and other cannabinoids don't need limits. They need consumer choice legislation. I'd recommend decriminalizing the whole plant, legalizing full plant access, and ending confusing games with terminology and restrictions that most politicians can't even grasp. Let's choose freedom and common sense over failure and fear. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Greg Raduca, Georgians for Responsible Marijuana Policy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. I'm Dr. Greg Raduca. I'm the Vice President of the Board of Georgians for Responsible Marijuana Policy, so I'm a volunteer, not getting paid to be here. We strongly support Senator Kirkpatrick's bill, Dr. Kirkpatrick's bill, SB 33. We think it will do so much good, as has been said, especially for the children of Georgia. My lifetime has been spent in substance abuse prevention and treatment, particularly for adolescents. And I'm here because I think this would help save lives, not necessarily by an overdose, but by a traffic accident, violent episode, something like that. SB 494 was great in addressing one particular kind of THC. It was only this Delta 9 THC, which is very important to address. The problem is, as strange as it sounds, the CBD in hemp, and CBD doesn't sound like THC. It doesn't have the same three letters, but CBD can be converted through a synthetic process into all kinds of semi-synthetic THCs. And that's where you get this loophole that was created by the Farm Bill, because you can take hemp-derived products, Delta 8, for example, Delta 10, cannabinol, all these other intoxicating cannabinoids, and if it's over 0.3% Delta 8, Delta 10, that's perfectly legal. If it's given to somebody who's 12 years old, perfectly legal, because this is totally unregulated. It's really de facto recreational legalization with no age minimums for high THC products. So we do have de facto recreational legalization of these products in Georgia, and most of us just didn't realize it. I didn't realize it for a long time. So these hemp-derived THC products can lead to traffic deaths, addiction, violence, psychotic episodes, and so forth. And in response to Senator Kausert's question, states like California, Colorado limited standardized servings, as they call it, of THC to 10 milligrams, because they found that the naive user, the new user, adult user of THC typically gets high around 10 milligrams. So it's not, there are individuating circumstances, of course, weight and so forth, but typically 10 milligrams is the marker. The attorney generals of 20 states, and this is also in your packet and it was in the red folder, signed a letter sent to Congress, and Congress has just been delaying closing the loophole since 2018, and they're going to delay again this year, so there's no guarantee the feds will ever close the loophole. But 20 states have, or closed important aspects of it. Georgia could be the 21st. This is a letter in your packet from the attorneys general of 20 states. Very powerful language. It was signed onto by Attorney General Chris Carr. And just to quote a sentence, we asked the committee to address the glaring vagueness created in the 2018 Farm Bill that has led to the proliferation of intoxicating hemp products across the nation, and we could say across Georgia, and challenges the ability for states and localities to respond to the resulting health and safety crisis. So Attorney General Chris Carr signed onto a letter calling this a health crisis. We show your commitment to farmers and support an orderly market for industrial hemp and non-intoxicating hemp-derived products. But what's happened is that hemp-derived intoxicants have proliferated across our states, posing a significant threat to public health and safety, benefiting unregulated, untaxed, unaccountable market actors. It's our duty to protect our states and communities, yet the federal law lacks the clarity needed to act vigorously on their behalf. So some of the advertisements, and I looked on the internet just yesterday, and this ad is still on the website of the Alpine Dispensary. 95% Delta 8. And that's perfectly legal because of this loophole in the Farm Bill, which SB 33 would close. This is happens to be a vape cartridge product, and you get it delivered to your house. The weight, as Senator Kausert mentioned, is a very important aspect because you could have a 1,000 milligram gummy, say, of 50% Delta 8, and that would give you 500 milligrams of THC. Delta 8, perfectly legal. So that would knock your socks off. So that would conclude my testimony.
Thank you for being with us. I've got time for one more speaker. I know Christina Vandiver came from a long way. I want to give you a chance to speak real quick. And then we'll probably have to conclude this hearing. Senator, we'll let you be thinking whether you want to take a vote before folks are heard or not. Go right ahead, Ms. Vandiver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am Christina Vandiver. I am a mom who lost a son to the disease of addiction. Our Nick is not with us today because of this type of substance we're considering with the SB 33. I represent Nick's New Beginnings and also Recovery Church, both which are located in Butts County, the home of our Lieutenant Governor. I am also a co-chairman of the Board of Governors of American Addiction Recovery Association. On behalf of the moms across Georgia, including my dear friend Doreen Barr of Fayette County, with the in Ryan's name in the American Addiction Recovery Association, who lost her son Ryan to this disease, I stand in support of SB 33. The phrase loophole is being used in connection with chemical alterations which create these Delta variants. Let me tell you, it's not a loophole, it's a game of Russian roulette, playing against death itself. Too many families in your districts are losing, and it's when, at funerals, you begin to realize it's nothing but a game. It's a choice between profit and life, between profit and family, between profit and Christian values, between profit and common sense, between profit and our children. Whose side are you going to be on? The side of pushing dangerous alternate chemicals to be available to all our children in Georgia, or on the side of families? It's not complicated. It's time to choose. Until you lose a child of addiction, until you are a survivor of addiction, you simply cannot understand the reality of death you are dealing with. I ask you to stand with families and survivors and support the great work of Senator Kay Patrick and support SB 33. Thank you.
Before you leave, so tell us about Nick. Was he on multiple substances, or was this the thing? Give me a little more texture. I know it's painful for you, but you're brave enough to be here. Give us a feel for it.
Nick was our son that we lost to an overdose. He never did drugs in his entire life. He went to college, got a scholarship to be a pitcher, threw out his arm. One thing led to another, and he was put on pain meds. My husband and I, we thought we were very, very drug educated. We made sure our kids were very busy. We kept track of them. They didn't go nowhere. And it was something we just never seen. We didn't know. And he was 23, had a 7-month-old baby. He got caught originally with a couple pills, got put in the system, and as parents, we just thought it was a 20-year-old. And got caught and put in the system. We didn't know what it was. We were uneducated, is what it was.
Is that a lace drug?
We just came over here from a Judiciary Committee meeting, and we're dealing with fentanyl there and trying to strengthen the penalties on that. We really have widespread problems of a wide variety of drugs in our society. But thank you for coming. Sorry for your tragic loss, and we love hearing from citizens that have been impacted by various problems. Thank you. Senator Kirkpatrick, I'm going to give you a choice. I've got probably 7, 8 more people that would want to be heard on this. They look to be equally divided, pro and con. I don't know if there are any unique perspectives or not. If you would like for us to allow action on the bill, I'm willing to do so, or I'm willing to wait and have a little more time for hearing. At our next meeting, I'm going to defer to your wishes on that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd prefer that we go ahead and vote on the bill today just because we're going to run out of time pretty soon
All right.
before crossover day. I would, if you don't mind, I just had three quick points
quick
to make.
close will be just fine.
One is that we protected kids with House Bill 494. We did that, all consumable hemp products. So I feel better about the kid issue, which I emphasized a lot last year with this bill. The second thing is this is not a ban, regardless of what anybody said. And the third thing is I sent an article, a review article from the National Institutes of Health about addiction to Delta 8 and Delta 9 that I will send to the whole committee. I've sent it to Senator Summers already. So with that, thank you very much for your consideration.
Well, it's a pleasure of the committee. I'll recognize the majority leader, Senator Gooch.
Yes, sir. I'd like to make a motion do pass to substitute to SB 33 LC number 55052 4S.
All right, and I got a second by, all right, Senator Sims, and I saw your hand as well, Senator Kennedy. Any discussion or any proposed amendments? All right, all in favor? I'll make sure I'm calling the right number. Let's see your copy. You got one handy. Since we're dealing with your committee substitute, I want to make sure I had it right. All in favor of the motion do pass by substitute Senate Bill 33 LC 550524S, raise your hand. It appears to be unanimous. Thank you very much, Senator.
Thank you,
You're on
Mr.
to the Rules Committee. Senator Hufstadter, I'm sorry. We have another committee that was supposed to start at 5. It got delayed. You are first up. Our next meeting, let anybody wants to testify on Senate Bill 34 be here at our next meeting bright and early. Thank you. We are adjourned.